Hello, everybody, and welcome to British Literature Online for the summer of 26 here at MJC. Let me just start with the obvious here. We have, by the contract, by the course outline, that is, 326 years of British literature to do in 6 weeks and 4 days. Yeah, can't do that. Not going to even try. So with apologies to Dickens and Austen and Thackeray and George Eliot and James Joyce and every other great British novelist of the last 3+ centuries, the goal here is to condense the course down into readable and manageable concepts so that you can apply them to the rest of literature when you read it, specifically British literature when you read it. So the goal here is to find concepts within short pieces, in other words. So we're going to start by looking at 4 genres. That's the framework of the course. We're going to look at short poems, long poems, a play, some short stories, that kind of thing. And you'll write an essay about each one and do discussions about each. All that information is in the syllabus, and you can just look at that on your own. But I want you to just kind of have a background of where we're starting right now. So although we will go back in time a little bit, we're going to start with Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Sonnets from the Portuguese, which were written 1842-ish, okay, in the 1840s. And that time frame is really important because it's the beginning of the Victorian era in England. So we're going to pick up there and go back a little bit in time toward the Romantics, but then kind of push forward. So when we think of Queen Victoria, we think of, a really long reign, a really long time on the throne from 1837 to 1901. And you can imagine when you have a reign that's over 6 decades that the technology will change, the times will change, the morals will change, the science will change, the art will change. And Victorian society had lots of changes. And it started out sort of like America was, let's say, in the 1950s when we won the space race. As we push toward the space race and would land on the moon eventually, there's just a sense of great optimism about everything, right? And it's a mindset that is beautiful but dangerous. So Victorianism at its onset really was what came about to give a very firm colonial mindset around the world, right? You've heard the expression, the sun never set on the British Empire. Of course, exploration had begun before that. But the mindset of we are right, we are perfect, we are good. I mean, we are biblically chosen to be the greatest people in the world, if you will, and to institute our values everywhere else. Again, beautiful but dangerous. So this was the world when Victoria took the throne in 1837 and in the early 1840s. It's ironic that in the mid-1830s, there was a 22-year-old man named Charles Darwin who traveled to the Galapagos, who started to do his studies on living things in their natural habitats and would come up with what was later called by Spencer to be survival of the fittest, right? And Darwin's thinking, his studies weren't published until well into the 1850s, but people began to know about them after Barrett Browning's Sonnets from the Portuguese and sort of changed that optimism. So we go from being in a place of like, this is perfect and love, how much do I love thee, let me count the ways, to Tennyson later looking at the death of a friend and going, oh, this is not right. And it's not just grief, it's not just personal grief, it's a sense that we're animals, we're finite, there are real limits to us, and that we sometimes can be really ugly things, right? So you're going to see those concepts working in the first few pieces that we read here as we start with the Victorian era. So that's just a little bit of background on it. I mean, as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm going to be available on Zoom on Tuesday mornings, but really anytime. My phone number is in the syllabus, so just call me, or actually text me. That's better. If you just text and say, I'd like to meet, I have questions, or I'd just like to meet you, I will meet you at any time. You can find the Zoom link in the syllabus, but a heads up is appreciated via text or whatever. And again, make sure, this is probably something I should have said earlier, but make sure that you go through the modules piece by piece, note by note, from beginning to end. Don't skip around. I know we're in a condensed time frame, but don't just click on assignments and do it, because you won't you won't be able to. There's a lot of background, a lot of things that feed into understanding the reading that you're doing. All right. I think the best thing that you can do for yourselves, the writing will take care of itself if you just read. There's not a lot to read in 6.5 weeks. I mean, what it could have been, right? But if you read the poems, if you internalize them in the first couple of weeks, if you understand them, that is the firmest foundation that you can give yourself before we move on. All right, I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to working with you. Welcome to the class. Oh, by the way, call me Theron. I just forgot to say that. All right, bye, everybody.